What is a disturbing fact you wish you could unlearn? There's a type of crayfish that farms sea stars by cutting all their water legs off and eating its arms all the way to the center, but leaving the center intact. It then feeds the sea star with kelp to keep it alive so it regenerates, and then repeats the process. When the Challenger exploded in 1986, the astronauts didn't die from the explosion. Nor did they die from depressurization as NASA has initially claimed. There is some evidence they turned on their personal oxygen supply. They died from impact when they hit the surface of the Atlantic Ocean. They were in free fall for 2.5 minutes. Not only that, but NASA was fully aware of the dangers of the launch. Engineers at NASA warned officials time and time again that the fuel O-ring would fail if they launched at such a low temperature. It was pretty frigid the day of the launch, and they ignored them just because they didn't want to have to push back the launch date. Parrots often bond with a keeper, from their perspective, as a lifelong romantic partner. If the person dies, or the parrot is displaced, they can go into massive depression and pluck out their own feathers. That's just downright sad. Recently heard of a woman dying of cancer. She had a parrot, and while she was on hospice the bird would visit just like any other family member saying goodbye. They are extremely intelligent, and if possible this is the ideal way to help a bird have the best chance at handling the death. They grieve, but understand what's happening. The woman's parrot was adopted by a family member I think, and had as happy an ending as possible. No feather plucking. I learned on Reddit that a woodpecker will tap enough to break into a baby bird's skull and slap up their brains. How many skulls could a woodpecker peck if a woodpecker wanted to sate its lust for baby bad brains? I remember as a child my mum telling me of the story of the horrific murder of James Bulger. Still haunts the UK now in some respects. If you have an intestinal blockage you can burp up farts and have fecal vomit, which is basically just throwing up your poop. When I was a child my grandmother told me this about one of her potential side effects if she didn't visit the doctor for her condition, and I laughed it off as if she was joking. In most cases, when a parasite gets into the brain, they don't remove it. They just kill it with some sort of acid or something with a similar effect, then just let the body calcify it. It's weird cause you'd think that the parasite could still do something. Edit, they don't kill it with acid. My mother has a cousin, honestly not sure, but a family member who got a parasite from eating bad meat on a trip to Mexico. They couldn't remove it as it's burrowed into her brain, so it's still there till this day and she's dying. It's really sad. Last I heard was her mental health was declining rapidly. Josef Fritzl, the man who imprisoned his daughter in an underground cellar for 24 years and raped her approximately 3,000 times. My disturbing fact is thinking about how many cases like this are going on right now that we don't know about or won't know about. Even more disturbing, Fritzl was discovered because he sent one of his children living in the cellar to the hospital. If he were an even bigger monster the whole thing could have go on until today. How many tyrants out there created similar situations that just ended with no witnesses alive? Equally worse, what would have happened to the family if Fritzl Wold died unexpectedly? The Chiquita Banana Company colluded with the CIA to overthrow the democratically elected government of Guatemala, leading to a civil war that lasted 46 years and directly contributed to the ongoing migrant crisis at the border. They called it Operation Success. Hence the term, Banana Republic. My biology teacher had a Q&A session before Christmas, and one student asked if it's possible to be allergic to your own blood. Unfortunately you can. Just imagine your own immune system destroying your red blood cells, constant hemorrhaging, constantly feeling cold and out of breath. When we got back from winter break we saw a new face in class, a former student of my bio teacher who just so happened to have this disease, and we spent the whole class asking questions. I feel so bad for the guy, but thankfully the medicine available to suppress the immune system has made his life bearable. My college roommate had a similar condition. You can look up called DVT or Behçet's disease. There is medicine to suppress his white blood cells, but yeah, it's still incurable, and he's going to have to take them for life. Cool part, when this dude catches a cold or something, because he's always suppressing his immune system, he has to stop taking his medicines and his ultra WBCs fix him back up. D. Jeffrey Dahmer drilled a hole into some victims' skulls and tried pouring different toxic liquids into the hole. He was trying to make a sex slave that could eat and drink, but could in no way fight back or escape. The worst fact is that victims might survive the first hole with all brain function intact and live long enough to be fully aware they were going to get a second or third hole drilled. One of the victims managed to escape, the police were called, and somehow the police turned the 14-year-old victim back over to Dahmer. Eater, thanks for the awards. Never gotten this many upvotes before. Wish it wasn't such a sad fact though. The fact that dogs like squeaky toys because it sounds like their prey crying out in pain. We tried to give my dog squeaky toys for the first few years we had her, but the moment it let out a squeak she would let go, start nosing it, and licking it in concern, and never bite it again. We stopped buying her those because it was causing her too much guilt. She's an angel. It's nice to have that little break as I'm reading through this thread. Yogurt is useful for decomposing dead bodies since it's already got concentrated and pre-cultured bacteria. Send him to the yogurt chamber. My mom told me I have my grandma's nipples. Edit, yes, for those asking, I'm a Jude. Apparently, Japan bombed China with fleas infected with bubonic plague during World War II. Big rain I think. Often people that fracture their tibia, big shin bone, but not their fibula, thin shin bone, think they're okay to stand up, and when they put weight through that leg then the fibula breaks too. Right, I forgot legs were shaped like that. There is a type of insomnia that will kill you. Life expectancy is around a year after onset. FFI, fatal familial insomnia. I remember seeing a channel about a guy who suffered from this, and it was not hard to see him going slowly insane from watching his videos. Any details about the toy box killer's ways of torturing his victims? The guy was a serial rapist, just leave it at that. I've read the transcript of the tape he played for his victims and just thinking about it turns my stomach. To make this worse, his lead accomplice and girlfriend, Cynthia Hendy, was let out of prison back in 2019. She already served her parole and cut her 36-year sentence down to just 20 years. That's like Kola Homolka. Actively participated in the torture and rape of 3, I think, teenage girls, including her own sister. And only served 12 years for manslaughter, not even murder. There was a bit of a public outrage afterwards when it became clear that she was a willing and active participant and that the police/prosecutors knew this. A man named Hisashi Aochi in 1999 suffered immense radiation poisoning after a nuclear accident. In fact, he is known to have taken more radiation poisoning than anyone else in history. Because of this radiation it messed up his chromosomes as well as his cells and mind system. He was kept alive for 83 days by scientists and doctors. During that time by day 20 almost all the skin on his body had fallen off, leaving his entire body in constant pain. Later the skin around his eyes as well as his eyelids also came off, so his eyes were always open even when asleep. His eyes would also something leak blood, making it look as though he was crying. His intestines were so messed up that he started to have constant diarrhea, which soon started to have large amounts of blood because his intestines were starting to decay from the inside. On day 53 his heart stopped 3 times, but scientists and doctors were able to restart it. He was basically only being kept alive by machines at this point, and the doctors started questioning if it would be more humane to let the man die, as he was in very obvious, unimaginable, indescribable levels of pain and suffering. Some doctors even said that it was torture forcing him to live like this. Due to the radiation almost all the muscles in his body had been destroyed. The only one that wasn't was his heart, which was still being kept alive from the various machines. The worst part of all of this is that Ouchie was completely conscious throughout all of it, and while he couldn't talk due to tubes being in his throat to help him breathe as the radiation also destroyed his lungs, he was in obvious pain every time someone touched him, or even while he was just laying on his bed. And while around the 2-month mark, it's unknown if he even felt pain as he stopped reacting to being touched as well as stopped thriving in agony 24/7. His pupils still shrank when light was shown into them, suggesting brain activity. Hopefully he did stop feeling pain by then. If not, then that makes it even worse. His body around day 80 was quite obviously to anyone at this point unsalvageable, and mold was starting to develop on his skinless body. He was even described as a corpse with a beating heart, so they decided that trying to save him wasn't worth it and pulled his plug. When they did, they studied his body and found out that his organs had all started to decay when he was still alive. All of this and more happened to one man who should have been killed out of mercy for his sake. Hisashi Ouchi has probably had the most painful, torturous, slowly agony death of all time. Every single fact about bedbugs. I read a story once about a woman who actually came to Reddit seeking help. She was blacking out every night and terrified. Thought her husband, who was a doctor, was drugging and raping her. Got to the point where she got separated and was looking to divorce, but he swore he wasn't doing anything and the behavior was completely out of nowhere. One Redditor suggested she go look at her bed and asked if she saw a bunch of little black dots in the creases. Turns out she had bed bugs so bad they were giving her a strange reaction and giving her duck in amnesia every night. Starfish can get infected and rip themselves apart. So the Bikini Bottom horror could be real? TLDR, don't retire in Vegas. In some states in the USA, particularly Nevada, your doctor can basically sell you to a company. If you're a senior with an untrustworthy doctor, they can throw memory loss, hysteria, confusion etc. on a piece of paper and hand it over to a company. This company can claim guardianship over you without you ever meeting or hearing of them. And they can take you out of your house, sell your house and all of your belongings, put you in a nursing home, and have full control over your finances. They can force you to take medication every day for the rest of your life that make you confused and unable to think clearly until you die. They can bar your family from visiting you as well. And it's all 100% legal. Before you even find out it's happened to you, there's already been a court hearing where the judge is persuaded into signing your life into some stranger's hands based on your doctor's false claims. Not that I want to unlearn it though. I think more people should know about it. Isn't that the premise of I Care a Lot? That a dolphin committed suicide after falling in love with its handler that used to jerk the dolphin off. Kinda don't blame him. It's tough to go back to hunting shrimp and dodging orcas in the wild ocean after all you've known for your whole dolphin life is recreational LSD and regular hand jobs. I watched a documentary about this, and he didn't go to the ocean. He went to a basement in a tank the size of a dolphin coffin, where he had to sit in his own shit and couldn't move. Since the building lacked sunlight and space, Peter quickly deteriorated and eventually committed suicide by drowning. Dolphin activist Rico Berry explains, dolphins are not automatic air breathers like we humans are. Every breath is a conscious effort. If life becomes too unbearable, the dolphins just take a breath and they sink to the bottom. They don't take the next breath. When someone has their head cut off, the screaming when they sever the throat sounds just like pigs. I unfortunately saw a video released by a terrorist organization many years ago and it still haunts me. The one where there was like 25 people just hog-tied and their throats were delicately sliced so you could hear them slowly drowning in their own blood.